It's getting too weird. Mike
Uh,
Larkin, how do you define success, my buddy? We'll come back to Graff. I love Don Graff.
have any of them been to see you perform in
You know what? They
Pennsylvania?
haven't yet. My friend Don Graff made the pilgrimage and with his family, and we had a fabulous time. By the way, for
So
anybody that's
I am going to
interested,
start organizing trips to see Larry.
let's do it. By the way, I just this sounds crazy, April, but it's true. There was a song at the Cannes Film Festival, I swear to God, called Cash Storm, and three of my songs that I wrote are in this thing. And we're getting involved more heavily with Hollywood. But I promise, no matter how famous and rich I get, I'll still come back and torture every one of you every chance I get. Don, I'll even do it to you off air. That's how much I care about you.
I've done it for a long time now. I was still sending
It's
people
true.
to work with you.
It's true.
Didn't
That's
stop me,
what I
right?
love. All right, Don. Listen. Everybody knows the key to Don's success is Don's Don. He's always upbeat. He's always positive. He's just a good guy. Mike Larkin, my buddy, and then we'll jump in with my man Russell Hill. Tell us, how do you define success? And by the way, anybody that doesn't know where Mike's head's at, he'll help anybody with anything. I never heard him be anything but upbeat, so he probably has a really good understanding that success is more than superficial things. Michael?
Hey, I like that corned beef answer, though, Don.
Wait a minute, wait a
Hey,
minute. I
better than
quoted
the
Rudyard
Jones.
Kipling and you're talking about delis? Hey, where did I go
Better
wrong?
than the rear answer I gave the other day, isn't it?
Michael, how do you define success?
I define it a couple of ways, and I've learned through two of my heroes, my dad and my mom. If that sounds corny. But my dad always said, hey, life is short, all right? He looked back on his life before he passed way too early and said, don't live with no regrets. Don't go on your deathbed with no regrets. And I said, do you have any regrets? And he goes, really? No. And I looked back on his life, and that's why he's one of my heroes. He did so much. And that's why me and Joe Jackson are such close friends. He was a fireman for 30 years amongst my childhood. Everybody in the neighborhood, all my friends, would come over in our teenage years, they'd come over during Christmas. And Dad would pop on the old whiskey bottle on the stove and goes, who's going to have a pop? So that was then, this is now. My other hero is my mother. She came over from Ireland, and she said, I said, what's your secret? I mean, you've been married for over 30 years now. She goes, communication. Me and your dad always used to communicate. So that's one of my core values. My personal ones from that experience are always improve 1% a day, at least. At the least. So you can look back at on a year and say, hey, I've improved 365%. That's not bad. My whole thing in life is love, loyalty, and friendship. So we love what we're able to do professionally, but I love life, right? Loyalty, hey, we're loyal to our clients and are loyal to our staff, but I'm a very loyal guy, and law of reciprocity is going to fit me with the people in my life who have a value of loyalty. And I always seek to establish lifelong friendships every single day. So everybody I meet on a Zoom throughout the day, and I have like 6 or 7 of them a day, it seems, but I always try to establish a lifelong friendship every time we talk. And if we don't do business, that's no problem. I met a friend. So that's my goals, and how I defined success is keep on that road, and the money will come.
Are you ready for my transition? We're going to jump to Russell Hill, because according to Mike Larkin, his definition of success is all you need is love. You got your Lennon lead in, Russell. Run with it, baby.
Well, he's
Right on.
so it was really interesting listening to everybody's perspective or take on that. And Tony's not in here, but one of the things he said that caught me was he likes a lot of money. He didn't say love. That caught me. I could go into an hour-long dissertation just on that. Robbie's perspective on 8 kids and him being home and watching what really goes on, and how he just did a 180 on that is a labor of love that taking care of 1 kid, 8 kids. Ooh, man, good for you, Robbie. I honed in on something that Jeff Shearer said, which is pretty cool. Talking about if at least with my understanding, my experience and strength about that is, and hope, if someone defines success as money, they don't have a clue. They don't have a frickin' clue. It's way beyond that. So success to me is a progressive realization of a worthwhile dream, but it has to go from vapor to paper. You got to write, and it's progressive. So it's changing and moving. I honed in on something that April said. It's always evolving and changing. And at the end of the day, you do an inventory, and it's like you just never stop. I remember I didn't know this for half my life. I didn't know it. I met this guy, and I was clean and sober at this point in time for a few years, and I was struggling with some things, and I wanted to go to another level in my life, and I thought it was money, and I was chasing that, and it wasn't working. And I realized that that's just a byproduct of success. So, but it can mean it means everything to me. And I believe there's dream makers and dream takers, and the takers don't understand success because it involves, at the end of the day, it involves helping other people around you. Who was it that talked about giving versus receiving? Was it you, Peter? Somebody was talking about that. It's not about receiving. You get by giving. It's like a universal law, like gravity. Okay. And it's important to help people around you. I'm very goal-driven, very ADHD. I know what I want, and I'm going after it, and it seems to change all the time. But I can tell you, one of the first, it's important to have long-term, but it's also important to have really short-term so you can see yourself achieving. And so one of the things I do, and some of you probably already heard this, but I have this ritual, Wendy, attitude, gratitude, very important in the morning, not just to think it, but I have to say things out loud. I have to pray out loud. I can't do it internally in my head. Prayer is one of the most powerful tools in my arsenal today. But one of the first things I do is I make the bed. I make the bed. I don't just throw the shit. No, I make the bed. I have to. That's the first thing I see myself achieving, and then I just keep going from there, man. And it's progressive. It keeps going, and I try to impact and be a part and help other people. Sometimes it's not that way. I got to tell you, like, okay, I have my selfish, self-centered, self-seeking moments. Trust me. But bam, I get a wake-up call at some point in time. It's not working. And so who was talking about regrets? Listen, regrets are a waste of time, man. Okay? Listen, I understand. We all are human. We all have made a lot of horrible decisions and done things and stuff like that. Some of us probably don't ever want anybody to know about. That's another thing that'll keep you trapped as well, because you set yourself free. That's what the negative forces, the devil, or whatever you want to call it, to keep a hand on you. But there's this one promise that I really honed in on in AA and NA, and that is not regretting the past, but not closing the door on it. So there's certain times in my life where I go to and remember certain things and what happened to get me out of my funk and to get me back on track. Not that I wish I could go back and change it. And I think Peter asked me this one time, if I could go back and tell my 18-year-old self something or offer some advice or opinion, what would that be? Well, I wouldn't, okay? Because when I was 18, you couldn't tell me a damn thing. Nothing. I don't care who you are. Even myself telling me, I had to learn. I believe failing is an important ingredient for my continued success, because for me, what I've learned, and don't get me wrong here, I love comfortable things. I really enjoy comfortable things. But success is at the edge of your comfort zone, okay? If you get comfortable, you're going to miss it. You're going to miss some of the most wonderful, challenging moments of growth, spiritually, mentally, physically, and emotionally, if you're afraid to get out on the other side. And here's what I found. I didn't want to do that. And what I found was when I stepped outside of my comfort, there's only two types of fear. That's it. There's fear of what you know and fear of what you don't know. That's all there is. So most people, until they figure it out, and hopefully they do, they have defining moments, but they know when they make this choice or this decision that these are going to be the consequences. And sometimes they're not happy, but they know what the consequences are. Okay, that's okay. You don't know what's on the other side. So when you step out there and you put it out there, and I got to tell you this one thing. So the gentleman that helped me define all this in my life, that started me in my trajectory, he looked at me and said, Russell, are you willing to do the things that other people aren't willing to do? So you can have them become the things that most people will never have and never become. What are you willing to do? How far are you willing to stretch? I'll work with you if you are, but the minute you stop, I'm not working with you anymore. And it was some serious growth pain. What I found was when I started stepping outside of my comfort zone, way outside of my comfort zone, guess who I met? Anybody like to take a guess who I met?
Yourself.
Russell Hill.
No, I met all of you. All of you that encouraged me and introduced me and said, I love you, I trust you, I believe you, let me introduce you to this person, let me introduce you to that person.
Interesting.
I met you. And that's my success.